tried to avoid the Kamala appearance on Stephen Colbert, but I just saw a clip. It's so bad. My gosh, she's so cringy and so awful. And Colbert was slobbering all over her. And she gave this word salad answer about how we're all united and how we shouldn't divide each other. I mean, it's so bad. If you've never seen Veep on HBO, you ought to watch it. Julia Louis-Dreyfus's characterization of a fictional vice president is a better politician than Kamala Harris. Selena Myers, I'd vote for her over Kamala Harris any day of the week. And Selena Meyer, the fictional character, is awful. Golly, I cannot believe where we are right now. But here we are. We got claims going all over the place about FEMA not allowing people in. We're going to check with Joey Hudson in South Carolina in just a moment, who spoke to a state representative this morning who had a shocking fact about people applying for government assistance. You know, the $750 that Santa Claus Kamala promised? Good luck applying for it and getting it. I want to read an essay to you. I'm going to read it every hour from Kevin Sorbo, the actor who played Hercules. We've interviewed him before. But it was a tweet that he posted on X that went viral. And it doesn't take long. It takes about 30, 45 seconds to read, but I want to read it to you. He posted, "That moment when someone says, 'I can't believe you would vote for Donald Trump.' Kevin Sorbo, the actor, wrote, 'I simply reply, I'm not voting for Donald Trump. I'm voting for the First Amendment and freedom of speech. I'm voting for the Second Amendment and my right to defend my life and my family. I'm voting for the next Supreme Court justices to protect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'm voting for the continued growth of my retirement and reducing inflation. I'm voting for a return of our troops from foreign countries and the end to America's involvement in foreign conflicts. I'm voting for the Electoral College and for the republic in which we live. I'm voting for the police to be respected once again and to ensure law and order. I'm tired of all the criminals having a revolving door and being put back in the street. I'm voting for the continued appointment of federal judges who respect the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I'm voting for keeping our jobs to remain in America and not be outsourced all over the world to China, Mexico, and other foreign countries. I want USA made. I'm voting for secure borders and legal immigration. I can't believe we've actually flown 380,000 illegals into our country. I'm voting for doing away with all the freebies given to all of the illegals and not looking after the needs of the American citizens. I'm voting for the military and the veterans who fought for this country to give the American people their freedoms. I'm voting for the unborn babies that have a right to live. I'm voting for peace progress in the Middle East. I'm voting to fight against human and child trafficking. I'm voting for freedom of religion. I'm voting for the right to speak my opinion and not be censored. I'm voting for the return of teaching math, history, and science instead of indoctrination of our children and pronouns. I'm not just voting for one person," he concludes. "I'm voting for the future of my country. I'm voting for my children and my grandchildren to ensure their freedoms and their future." It's a brilliant essay by an actor, a guy named Kevin Sorbo. If you want that essay, we'll send it to your smartphone or your computer. Just text the keyword Kevin to our MyPillow text line, 800-655-MIKE. We'll send you back that essay because that's what's on the line. All of that is on the line. Every bit of that is on the line. And that's what's at stake 1 month from today. We are 1 month away. Governor Ron DeSantis, by all accounts, has done an absolute brilliant job, a splendid job of preparing for Milton, which is this monster Category 5 hurricane that's going to hit Florida's west coast. It's the first time the peninsula has suffered a direct hit in over 100 years. Kamala Harris decided to play some political games over the hurricane response in Florida. She decided to attack Ron DeSantis and accuse him of not taking her phone calls. Last night on Sean Hannity's show, Governor DeSantis set the record straight.
And we've been laser focused on leveraging all resources available, including from the federal government. And I've been in touch with both FEMA and the president, as well as marshaling all our state agencies and working to support our local communities. And so for Kamala Harris to try to say that my sole focus on the people of Florida is somehow selfish is delusional. She has no role in this. In fact, she's been vice president for 3.5 years. I've dealt with a number of storms under this administration. She has never contributed anything to any of these efforts. And so what I think is selfish
Has she ever
is her
called
trying to
before?
blunder into this. No. And here's
Has
the
she ever
thing.
called before?
She has no role. No, she has no role in this process. I'm in contact with the President of the United States. I'm in contact with FEMA director. I'm obviously managing all our state agencies. We're supporting all our local government. And I will say this. I've had storms under both President Trump and President Biden, and I've worked well with both of them. She's the first one who's trying to politicize the storm, and she's doing that just because of her campaign. She's trying to get some type of an edge. She knows she's doing poorly, and so she's playing these political games. I don't have time for political games. I've got peoples whose lives are on the line. I've got peoples whose homes and their possessions are on the line, and we are focused 100% on that mission. I'm not worried about playing her political games. And so she is being selfish by trying to blunder into this when we're working just fine.
Ouch. That's going to leave a mark. That's who Kamala Harris is, incidentally. She doesn't care about the misery of millions of people in the Carolinas and Florida and Georgia and Tennessee. She wants to politicize it. She wants to score political points. She stood outside an airplane yesterday and was babbling about DeSantis not taking her call because it's about her. This Scott Jennings, who we've interviewed a few times from CNN, gosh, this guy is good. Here he was last night reacting to Kamala's shameful, disgraceful attempts to politicize Florida's storm response.
I mean, she's attacking the governor of a state that's about to get lashed with one of the most historic hurricanes we've ever seen. Is she crazy? He did not ignore her call.
She was talking, just to be clear, she was talking broadly about the politicization of the storms.
I think she was talking about Ron DeSantis. He did not ignore her call. And in fact, according to what I've read tonight, he actually spoke to the President of the United States,
He did
Joe
speak
Biden.
with President Biden.
And he has said time and again that he and the federal government are working well together. So who here is politicizing this?
Wait a minute. Did the CNN talking head say that Kamala was talking broadly? Oh, really? Let's play cut 3. Let's play Kamala being asked about this totally fake, bogus report that somehow she was ignored. I will not be ignored, Dan. Remember the Glenn Close character from Fatal Attraction? That's what Kamala seems like. Check out what she said outside her airplane yesterday about how utterly irresponsible and selfish Governor DeSantis is being. Hey, CNN lady, this doesn't sound like talking broadly to me.
Governor DeSantis, NBC is reporting Governor DeSantis is ignoring your calls on hurricanes, resources, and help. How does that hurt the situation here?
You know, moments of crisis, if nothing else, should really be the moment that anyone who calls themselves a leader says they're going to put politics aside and put the people first. People are in desperate need of support right now. And playing political games at this moment in these crisis situations, these are the height of emergency situations, is just utterly irresponsible, and it is selfish, and it is about political gamesmanship instead of doing the job that you took an oath to do, which is to put the people first.
Now, you know, there's an easy answer to that question because she's the one supposedly trying to reach DeSantis. DeSantis says it isn't even true. She's got no role in this. DeSantis has been in frequent and constant contact with Biden's office, the president, who directs this, not Kamala. Kamala's not the president. Now, that might be a shock because most Americans think she is because he's out to lunch. It's weekend at Bernie's time for that guy. But she's not the president. She may play one on TV, but she's not the president. And ultimately, Ron DeSantis had every right to smack her down and that terrible, despicable attempt to politicize the storm. You want some more politicization of the hurricane response? Wait till you hear what our colleague and friend Joey Hudson found out about FEMA and its response to the people of the Carolinas. There's a lot of political gamesmanship going on. It's just not coming from the Republicans. We're going to be joined by Joey Hudson. We're also going to go back to the Florida newsroom, the Tampa Bay newsroom of Roger P. Schulman. Milton is bearing down on Florida. It does not look like it's going to dissipate or take a different trajectory, and it could be real misery and heartache and devastation and, yes, death in the state of Florida. This is a monster storm. I got out of Florida yesterday because I needed to stay on the air this week. We were worried about keeping the radio station powered up. That's in an evacuation zone. Everybody's evacuating from the west coast of Florida, or many people are anyway. And so I feel some dread and even a little bit of remorse over leaving, but we had to stay on the air. So we're in New York for the next few days during the arrival of Hurricane Milton, and we will be keeping you posted every step of the way. We'll check with Roger and Joey and you here in the Relief Factor studios at 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. Join us. There's been a lot of indicators that FEMA is not adequately responding to the needs of people who have been already impacted by Helene. Let's welcome back to the show my dear friend and colleague, Joey Hudson, our frequent guest host, correspondent at large, of course, who is right smack dab in the upstate of South Carolina. Joey, I asked you the last couple of days what you're hearing about people in Western North Carolina, what they're experiencing with FEMA, and whether it's true that the reporting is correct, that FEMA is really more of an obstacle and a hindrance than a help. You've determined that seems to be the case.
Well, there are a lot of reports, Mike, from Western North Carolina and parts of the upstate of South Carolina where just private individuals have taken it upon themselves to get the help to people who were affected by Hurricane Helene themselves. We've seen things like the Redneck Air Force, which is a group of private pilots who are flying their planes and their helicopters into areas dropping food. There have been reports of them being threatened with arrest if they come back to certain areas. There's a documented case just this past week of a husband and wife who needed to be rescued. The helicopter pilot who was able to get the wife to safety was threatened to be arrested if he returned to pick up the husband. So stories like this. And of course, Vice President Kamala Harris was in Charlotte this past weekend talking about the $750 that FEMA will give to people for immediate assistance. The problem is I can't find anybody who's received the $750. I spoke with Representative John McCravey. He represents the 13th District of the South Carolina House in Greenwood, South Carolina. Greenwood was heavily hit as well. And I asked Representative McCravey if he had been able to find any of his constituents who had been able to take advantage of this $750. He told me on Sunrise, Carolina this morning, he hasn't found a single constituent yet who's been able to get approved for this. You've been out there, you've been talking with people, taking phone calls from constituents needing help. What have you personally been hearing?
Joey, it doesn't pleasure me to say this, but the only calls I've had about FEMA is I made an application online and I was denied 10 minutes later. And everybody I've talked to was denied. I haven't had a single person tell me they got anything. And we've had thousands and thousands of people. I was looking on a post tonight that have applied. So I don't know what's going on.
Joey, I'll tell you what, the really scary thing is that the mainstream media is never going to hold Kamala Harris or Joe Biden accountable for the disastrous, miserable federal government's response to these storms. And now there's another one coming. Florida's going to be in the same boat.
Wow, I know. And to think about what people in Florida, your home state, are going through right now, preparing. And it's just a helpless feeling because you know it's coming. There's not a thing you can do about it.
That's right.
But you know, the most frustrating thing about this, Mike, is that Biden-Harris administration talking about, well, we need more money. We need more money. Congress needs to come back from recess. You know, it's just disclosed in the last 24 hours, too, that FEMA is sitting on billions and billions of dollars from previous storms dating back 16, 20 years ago.
I know.
And they still have billions that they won't release.
Joey Hudson checking in from South Carolina. We'll check in with you again soon. Keep up the great work, Joey. Keep fighting the good fight. Stay with us. More coming up.